views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Sanji Lopez, filling in for Darren Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, we'll learn more about the New York City Commission on Gender Equity and their upcoming summit taking place here in the Bronx. Afterwards, the Professional Staff Congress has been hard at work protesting and fighting for wage justice in support of adjunct staff and students. We'll find out more later on in the show. Next, author of In Search of Shadows, Blair Hampton, shares more about her book and her passion for allegorical storytelling inspired by the Bronx. After that, author Carl Lawrence joins us to tell us more about his upcoming Imagination Manifest Dreams, creative writing workshops. Then the Morrisania Band Project, an award-winning R&B soul collective, will be hitting the stage this summer. Stick around to find out when and where. So stay tuned. All this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hello everyone, I'm Sanji Lopez and today is Wednesday, June 12th, and you're now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network as Open is being broadcasted simultaneously on MNN's channels. You can stay connected to us via Twitter at BronxNet TV and on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. A lot has been going on through this past week. We'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. The Housing Justice Town Hall brought forth U.S. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other elected officials talking housing, rent reform, and more. BronxNet correspondent Stephen Powell brings us the story.
The Sands, located on Allerton Avenue in the northeast section of the Bronx, was the scene of the Housing Justice Town Hall featuring Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, New York Senators Jamal T. Bailey and Alessandra Biaggi, and Assemblywoman Natalia Fernandez. The event was a community-organized effort hosted by Housing Justice for All, a coalition of tenant associations and other housing advocates to address the housing crisis facing New York State tenants.
We're here to demand universal rent control in New York State that is not pie in the sky, that is basic protections for people who pay rent, who work hard, and they deserve a home to live in without fear of their rent going up $500, $700 per month.
The term universal rent control describes the goal shared by Raphael Schweizer, head of Bronx Park East Community Association, and other Housing Justice for All borough members seeking to protect tenants living in 2, 3, 4, or 5 unit apartments from experiencing rent hikes and evictions by landlords. Schweizer described the rent control legislation that must be passed in order to secure this right for all New York State tenants.
There are 9 universal rent control bills. We need, not one, we need all 9 bills passed because tenants, these are people's homes.
Community Action for Safe Apartments, otherwise known as CASA, organizes tenants for safe and affordable housing through collective action. CASA leader Anita Long co-signed Schweizer's sentiments on housing legislation.
Housing is a human right, and this 9 bill package will ensure that all tenants in the state of New York are protected.
Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez enlightened Bronxites about the methods used to determine what is considered affordable housing and offered a possible solution to this problem, while Senators Jamal T. Bailey and Alessandra Biaggi emphasized the importance of doing their jobs as legislators in service of the people of New York.
The average median income, that geographic area goes all the way up to Westchester for New York City. So the median, the AMI zone is so big that Westchester mansions are being included in what is determined as affordable housing. So we're going to lower the AMI, but we need to make sure that it's very tight tightly coordinated so that people don't get left out on the street because of kind of the loopholes and the cracks that happen in our system.
As legislators, I believe it is our duty to go through things and see what cause and effect would be, intended and unintended consequences of what any legislation would be. I think that's our job, and I think that we're doing that job in the Senate right now.
They need to make sure that the tenants and the people in their districts actually are protected. And so we are inch by inch working towards that.
With 16 days left before rent stabilization laws in New York State expire, Bronx residents hold on to the hope that their message that housing is a human right resonates with their congressional representatives. Reporting for BronxNet, Stephen Powell.
Thank you, Stephen. Switching gears here, Legal Hand Highbridge educated Bronxites on asylum seekers, civil unrest, and how to get involved at the Imprisoning in Plain Sight workshop. BronxNet correspondent Kibben Aline brings us the story.
Learning about the repercussions of civil unrest in the life of a refugee, Bronxites attended the Imprisoning in Plain Sight workshop at Legal Hand Highbridge.
Tonight was the Our Displaced Neighbor, an event geared towards asylum seekers and giving out information on, what are asylum seekers and how you get some information on assisting them in various different capacities.
With 62% of New Yorkers living in households with at least one immigrant, according to NYC Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, United Nations Women Gambia Ambassador Dr. Amina Ali led the discussion with the theme of Our Displaced Neighbor, hoping to show Bronxites they are much closer than they think.
We have people of other ethnicities that all live next door to each other, and we're all facing the same problems. So because of that, we have to make that civil unrest settled, and that is making sure that there are resources and opportunities for all of the communities to be able to thrive and survive.
The workshop highlighted the traumatic hardships these vulnerable communities face, but also offers solutions to Bronxites willing to give a helping hand, with an opportunity to volunteer with the United Nations.
We have to step up and be the pillars of strength to bring those programs here. You can go to register to be a UN ambassador in your own community, and that's just simply getting a UN volunteer ID number that allows you to see the things that are going on in your community and elsewhere and where you can be of help. And then you can unify right where you are.
If peace and security, sustainable development, human rights, and humanitarian assistance are core values to you and you're interested in volunteer opportunities, then you can visit unv.org to learn more about volunteering with the United Nations. Reporting for BronxNet, Kibben Aline.
Thank you, Kibben. That's all for Bronx Updates. We have to take a quick break. More open right after this.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made this vacation happen.
Double points with every purchase?
Cleverly merging promotions.
Love it.
Cross-referencing travel sites. And booking all your flights with those...
Vouchers. I got us bumped.
They were like, oh. But now they're like... Aloha. You aced this vacation. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at getschool.com.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. because love has no labels.
Welcome back. On June 2015, Mayor de Blasio established the New York City Commission on Gender Equity to address the issues of inequity and discrimination facing girls, women, and transgender and gender nonconforming persons. In an effort to advance gender equity in New York City, the Commission on Gender Equity will be going to all 5 boroughs to engage and mobilize New Yorkers of all genders, identities, expressions, and backgrounds. Joining us now to discuss the Commission and the upcoming Gender Equity Summit here in the Bronx is Jacqueline Ebanks, Executive Director at the New York City Commission on Gender Equity. Hi, Jacqueline. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Firstly, we'll start off by talking about the New York City Commission of Gender Equity. What is it?
The Commission is a permanent city agency. We were established, as you said, in 2015 to work with all city agencies to ensure that we develop as a city and we develop and implement and sustain gender equitable policies and practices. Our goal is that every single New Yorker, regardless of gender identity, gender expression, or background, will have the opportunity to do at least 4 things. 1 is live economically secure lives. 2, to have access to quality and affordable health care. 3, to have full autonomy over their reproductive lives. And finally, 4, to live free from violence in our homes, in our communities, and at our workplaces. And so we work together across city agencies, and we also work with international bodies and with the for-profit sector to achieve these goals.
Mm-hmm. And off break, we were talking about the 45th anniversary coming up.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the history.
So the Commission on Gender Equity is a successor organization to the Commission on the Status of Women, which was started in 1975. And a bit about the struggle for women's rights and the struggle for gender rights. Very often, advocates had to appeal to whomever was in power as mayor to create these commissions. And the big shift this year with this mayor in 2015 is the naming, because we now talk about gender in its broadest sense, and we recognize the full diversity of gender. And so when we talk about gender equity, we're looking at the rights of girls, women, transgender, and gender non-binary New Yorkers. And finally, it is a permanent city agency. So no more do advocates have to go and say to every mayor coming up, you have to create this commission. We're here, we're fully staffed, and we're growing. And so we're looking forward to have sustained impact and moving forward gender equity across New York City.
Right. This month we're celebrating Pride Month. There's a lot of pride going around, LGBTQ community. What are some of the challenges that some of our New Yorkers here face in terms of LGBTQ?
You know, one of the things I want to talk about in this administration, we last year, the mayor signed the Gender X marker bill, which means that anybody can have themselves identified by whatever their gender identity is and not what was given at birth, right? And I think that's a huge liberation for all of us. I think the other thing that we're very mindful of in New York is caretaking responsibilities. And one of my favorite pieces of legislation is that every new building that goes up in New York now has to have baby changing stations in every single restroom, not only in the women's restroom, and which for same-sex couples is an incredible liberation if you're a same-sex male couple, right? You can take care of your child whenever you go out. And those are just, things that affect our everyday life, affect the culture, affect how we live with each other. I think it's just such critical work that we do.
Right, and you have a 5-borough tour coming up. There's a Gender Equity Summit. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yes. One of the key things that we try to do as the Commission is to engage the general public. It is important that our work is informed by the guidance of the general public because we're here to serve the public, right? And so we decided to host these summits to engage the public to tell us about 3 things. 1, how can we engage men in this discussion to fight for gender equity? How can we deepen the advocacy of youth who are tremendously mobilized right now? But we also need their voices in our city to advance gender equity. And finally, how can we ensure that all our communities have the tools necessary to reduce, eliminate, and prevent gender-based violence? And so we're having these summits. The Bronx, we meet June 25th at 6 to 9 p.m. And what's so important for us is that everybody comes out, regardless of gender identity, regardless of gender expression, because this movement to gender equity affects all of us. And we can't get there unless we're all a part of the dialogue and informing the change.
Absolutely. And where can constituents get more information on the commission?
They can visit our website at nyc.gov/genderequity.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the protections in the LGBT community here in New York as well?
I think that the thing to remember is that New York City is an equitable society, and that we are standing head and shoulders above the country. You have a right to be who you are. You have a right to love who you love. You have a right to all the benefits of everybody, regardless of sexual orientation. And along with our sister agency, the Commission on Human Rights, the Commission on Gender Equity stands to ensure that these protections are extended, are implemented, and that nobody obfuscates them or takes advantage.
Jacqueline, thank you so much for joining us today. We will forward everyone to the Gender Equity Summit that's coming up soon. We have that information at the end here. Thank you so much again.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Meeting you.
Bye-bye.
The Bronx Gender Equity Summit will be taking place on Tuesday, June 25th from 6 to 9 p.m. at International High School located at 345 Brook Avenue in the Bronx. You may RSVP at bit.ly/Gender Equity Summit. The link below. For more information, you can also email genderequity@cityhall.nyc.gov. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Thank you for staying with us. The Professional Staff Congress is dedicated to advancing the professional lives of its members, representing 30,000 faculty and staff at the City University of New York. PSC has been holding rallies and protests demanding wage justice and fighting for state funding at CUNY. Joining us now to tell us more is David Hyman, PSC Lehman Chapter Officer. Hi, David. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Great
to be here.
We're going to start off by having you tell us about PSC. What is it?
Sure. The Professional Staff Congress is the union that represents over 30,000 full-time and part-time faculty at CUNY, as well as academic staff members. We've been currently operating on an expired contract for the last 18 months. Basically, what our union is trying to, I want to say spearhead, but what we're involved with right now is a movement in which we're trying to unite for wage justice for CUNY. Now, currently, CUNY faculty, full-time faculty, and full-time academic members make thousands of dollars less than equivalent positions at other public institutions of higher education, all while living in a city with among one of the highest costs of living in the country. Our part-time faculty, our adjunct faculty are in an even worse situation. When you look at their per class salaries, when you add it up into what would be the equivalent of working full-time or working a full-time load, our part-time faculty are making poverty and near poverty wages. And these are people who have very high levels of education, have been paying, often are still paying off debt. We believe this is an unsustainable and unfair situation. Now, this is not only unfair just in terms of equity and justice. This is unfair for students at CUNY because we believe that opportunities for improved learning at CUNY is exactly the same thing as opportunities for improved teaching conditions at CUNY. And we believe this is also integral to the fabric of our city in which CUNY plays such an important role.
Right. I've heard a lot of students gathering at these rallies and protests that you've had with PSC. Can you tell me a little bit about the background?
Absolutely. Lehman is what I could speak most of, but really at Lehman College and also throughout the Bronx with our sister colleges, Ostos Community College and Bronx Community College, and really throughout the city and the 17 other CUNY, the 17 total CUNY institutions, students have been extremely supportive of faculty. They do not see this in terms of a false choice between where a limited amount of money is going. They see the fact that in order for CUNY to continue to fulfill and maintain and improve its longstanding mission as the people's university, that we need to be working together in order to achieve our common goals. And it's been really wonderful to see.
Right. David, can we also talk about the CUNY adjunct professors? The majority of teachers at CUNY are actually adjuncts. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, the majority of courses at CUNY are taught by adjunct faculty. Now, for those who don't know, adjunct faculty, some contingent faculty, rather than being paid on an annual salary, are paid on a course-by-course basis. The amount of money that can be made there is really quite pitiful and really unlivable. At this point, we're demanding that our adjunct faculty, we're demanding that the state and city adequately fund CUNY so that we can have competitive wages and salaries for our part-time faculty. But let me also insist, because I think sometimes this can be another false dichotomy. We believe that we don't need to choose between funding fair wages for our part-time faculty, our full-time faculty, and our various academic staff positions. We believe that this is a question of the city and state governments showing the commitment to CUNY that we all have and putting their money where their mouth is. It's very easy to talk about how they often will hear great things about how important CUNY is, but we need funding in order to maintain the standards that CUNY has become justly known for.
Right. You've recently had support from Representative or Congresswoman Alessandra Biaggi. Yes, she has come to
my
campus.
state senator. So.
Yes. So can you tell us about her?
Yes, Alessandra Biaggi is one of several city, state, and national politicians who, in the most recent election, won over seemingly as seeming underdogs, who have shown a tremendous commitment to and understanding of the issues facing both CUNY and I would say our society as a whole. She recently came to Lehman to give a speech in which, during her speech, she explicitly supported our call for wage justice and our united movement for wage justice, and then afterwards joined representatives from the PSC as well as students for a press conference in which she reiterated that same support. So thank you, Senator.
And David, what happens following a protest and rally by PSC?
Yeah, thank you. The most important thing I'd like people to know is the way that you can join in this fight is by pressuring, really even demanding of our mayor and governor that they fund CUNY adequately. Right. And the ways we can do this, you can visit our website, which is www.psc-cuny.org, and there's a link in which you can send a letter to both. You can also text a number, which I wrote down somewhere here. Oh, I can't find out. Yes, 69238, and text capital CUNY, and then you'll have a link to that same letter. Of course, you could write your own letters if you prefer, but this is a nice, easy way to do this. We also would like to, or I would like to, and the union would like to congratulate. Currently, we have a new chancellor, Felix Matos Rodriguez, and our current president at Lehman has gone over to join him, Jose Luis Cruz, as his chancellor. While I want to congratulate both, I also want to implore both and ask everybody watching to implore both to push and demand the adequate funding that CUNY needs in order to continue its mission of teaching its students.
Right. This is the importance of civic engagement and allowing people to get involved into these movements like
Absolutely,
this.
And I want to say that Lehman students who I have the most direct contact with have been incredibly have assumed powerful leadership roles in that activism, which is in the tradition not only of students in New York City but of CUNY's history.
Thank you so much, David, for joining us.
Thank you,
nice.
Sonji.
Pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure meeting
We'll see you
as
around
well.
campus.
I'm here.
For more information, visit psc-cuny.org. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund Reading.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I bought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
Thank you for staying with us. In Search of Shadows is a book that delves in and out of Egyptian mythology, fantasy, and science, encouraging minority youth to enjoy and pursue STEM careers. Joining us now is Bronx-born author Blair Hampton. Welcome, Blair. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a delight to be here.
Yes. So can we start off by learning who is Blair Hampton?
Blair Hampton is a South Bronx native. I grew up in the Highbridge section. Luckily, I know, I grew up on the 13th floor in an apartment building that overlooked the Major Deegan Expressway, the Highbridge, and just everything in my neighborhood. And I used to sit for hours thinking of stories about the people I saw, things I experienced, and all of that is woven into all of my stories.
How did you become a self-published author?
Well, I always knew that I was going to be a writer. When I was in the first grade at CES 126, I took my first creative writing class, and it was there I learned the structure of a story, and it dawned on me that all the stories that I created in my head, I can put it down on paper and share it with people. So the past 30 or so years since that day, I've been pursuing a career actively. And everything I've done has been in search of fulfilling my destiny.
In Search of
In Search
Shadows.
of Shadows,
Linking it all
yes.
into your current book. So let's talk about that, your book that you've just released.
Yes. Well, I love science fiction. I love history, especially African history, Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology. There's a lot of themes that seem to reoccur through all of these stories, and I thought it would be an excellent way to incorporate that into a story by writing about a 13-year-old named Danny Patton who wants to be the world's greatest inventor just like his father. The problem is he's 13 and a lot of times his curiosity leads him into dark places in search of shadows. And the book is pretty much a metaphor for doing what you need to do in order to fulfill your goals, but realizing the consequences and the pitfalls that can happen in pursuit of your dreams and how to always find the light at the other side. So it's just a classic story of good versus evil, and it takes place in New York City, my borough of the Bronx, and it has a lot of New York history, which I'm also obsessed with.
Nice. So anybody that's reading it can relate to the book, the story itself.
Yes, the
and the
smells, the sounds of the city, the different ethnicities. The South Bronx is full of so many cultures. I've lived in a lot of different places, and no place is like the Bronx. And I love talking about the Bronx, and it's funny because when you meet people from outside of the city, they're like, oh, all people from New York is all they have to talk about is New York, but it's the love of the borough and the love of the city.
You gotta represent.
Yes.
So it's also, the book is also, In Search of Shadows, is also like an allude to STEM careers. Like you're talking about STEM careers in the story. Can you tell me about that as well?
Yes, definitely. I do believe that STEM is the future. We've made so many technological advancements, but I don't think the opportunities exist in abundance for minority youth or people who grew up in New York City housing, such as myself, to have access to these careers. So I hope that by talking about it, even if it's through, you know, an imaginary invention that will never probably see the light of day, that it encourages kids to build their own, to use their own resources, upcycle, recycle, do whatever they need to do in order to make the world a better place.
Right. And what is your future work looking like? What are you working on next?
I'm working on the sequel to In Search of Shadows. I'm doing some merchandising things on my website, and I hope to make this into a worldwide brand where I can get kids interested in pursuing STEM careers, have writing workshops, and just spark that little hope, that little flame. I know there were a lot of times when I was growing up, I read so many books, and I took a message from each and every one of them, and I hope someone reads my books and gets the message that they can do anything as long as they put their mind to it and stay focused on the positive.
Where can the audience find In Search of Shadows?
I am available on Amazon. I'm getting ready to get through some distribution channels so they can also be offered in bookstores.
Are you seeking to do some kind of like appearances in the Bronx as well to talk to kids and like go to schools and stuff like that?
I'm working on that. I'm trying to get back to my elementary school. It's the Marjorie Dunbar Elementary School, and it's really important for me to go back and speak to the kids there because that's where I got my first taste of writing, and it's important to give back to the community.
Absolutely, for sure. And what else? So when you talk to kids about STEM careers, they may not understand, you know, like at a young age, but it's very important to kind of like think about the future and think about things that they can develop on their own. And I absolutely think that's possible, and you're doing that through your book. So thank you for doing that, Blair.
Thank you so much.
Anything else you want to tell the kids and all the people?
I would just like to say never, ever, ever get up. The road to publication has been full of ups and downs, a lot of rejections, but I think anyone from the Bronx can attest we have so much resilience and determination, and as long as you stay focused on your goals, you can accomplish anything.
I definitely want to talk a little bit about that, the road to self-publication, how difficult that was for you as well. Coming from the Bronx and, you know, not getting any handouts or anything, how did you do it?
Oh, it was rough. I had to hustle. Originally, I went to school, I was pursuing a career in medical, and always in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to be a writer. I just felt like I had to support myself, and it's really hard to be a successful author. And I always prepared myself to go to school and then make a career and then be able to write in my free time.
Right.
But I went to college and I got into the real world and started working, and I realized I'm working so hard for someone else's dream. So if I can apply that same determination and hustle for my own dreams, then I can do anything. And then, of course, I got my first publishing credit. I just went out on my own. I went through ads looking for people who were interested in freelance writing, and I became an editorial assistant at a national magazine. So from there, I started getting more freelance work, going to events, doing interviews, and I really put forth the effort. It was a lot of sacrifice. There was a lot of nights where I wasn't absolutely sure I was doing the best thing for my career, but I knew it was the right thing.
So inspirational. Thank you, Blair, for joining us
Thank
today.
you. Thank you.
So In Search of Shadows is now available on Amazon and ebooks. For more information, you can visit Blair's website at insearchofshadows.wordpress.com, the link below, or visit her on Twitter at BlairHampton7. Stay tuned for more Open right after this.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Welcome back. Imagination Manifest Dreams are a series of creative writing workshops facilitated by a local published author and social entrepreneur. Here to tell us more about the upcoming workshops is author and workshop facilitator, Carl Lawrence. Hi, Carl.
Hey, what's up?
Thanks for joining us again. This is
No
not
doubt.
your first rodeo. You've been here before.
Yeah.
So what you been working on since the last time we saw you?
So I got the opportunity to travel to Thailand shortly after I finished the interview the first time, and I stayed at a monastery there with Buddhist monks. And I saw how, when given the right environment and tools, the brilliance and creativity and the better angels of our nature as human beings can really flourish in the right environment.
Wow.
But because of the social, political, and economic oppression that's faced by people of color, we haven't been granted the opportunity to have that same privilege.
So how are you now bringing what you learned there here to the Bronx with your workshops?
And so I think that one of the defining aspects of being a human being is having the power of imagination, which means that we're not held in captivity to the way that things are. We can use our imagination to envision an alternative future, an alternative outcome. And then through reading, through writing, and through speaking and inspiring the cooperation of other people, we could turn that, what's in our imagination, into a reality. But it's like with the epidemic of literacy being in the Bronx, which is a result of poverty, a lot of us don't have access to those tools, and we're not really taught in our schools how to imagine in that way. So that's why I've created the workshops, to
And-
be able to teach people what I've done for myself.
Thank you for that. And what can a participant expect when they come into these workshops?
So imagine if Jay-Z came back to New York to teach people in Brooklyn how he went from a drug dealer to a billionaire, how he turned stories about his life into a successful enterprise, and how he became an investor. It's the equivalent of that, but instead of reaching backwards, I'm trying to pull people forwards with me while I'm still a work in progress, while I'm still on that path. Because a lot of times people become successful and then they leave their communities, and then it's like, yeah, they rap about it, but they don't teach the curriculum of how they achieve that. They symbolize to you that it is possible, but they don't tell you the how. And so I'm doing the workshops to get a collective of people to imagine the how they can transform themselves.
Carl, tell us about the importance of creative writing and what it means to you.
I could think back to 10 years ago, being 13, 14 years old, and not feeling like there was meaning or purpose to my life. But then reading decolonized my imagination, and then poetry saved my life. Because it's like, now with this, I can use it as a tool to become influential, right? I can use it as a tool of leadership. And to lead is to serve. And by serving people, you gain their respect, you gain their confidence, you become a brand that they can trust. And through that, you could become an entrepreneur by way of that and make a change in your society.
And now you're working with organizations such as the New York Public Library to facilitate these workshops. Tell us about your work with them.
Yeah, so I've worked with the New York Public Library. I've hosted a workshop at the Andrew Friedman Home that's also in the Bronx on the concourse. I'm doing one at the Bronx Art Space today. It's just, these are different cultural hubs and centers that you could attract people to, get them to come, get them to show up, and inspire them, build community that way.
We're going to talk about the event tonight at the end of the segment, but tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so I use my poetry, my spoken word, as a means of inspiring critical thinking in the audience to get their attention, to command their respect. And then I turn the tables on them and I give them a prompt so that now it's not just you sitting there listening to me or being entertained by me, but engage your own mind, engage your own imagination. What kind of life, what kind of outcome do you envision for yourself? And then I'm gonna challenge you to share it and to work through it, because a lot of us live in survival mode. So we don't graduate to the level of being able to think of purpose and think of meaning in our daily lives. So I'm trying to be that disruptive force to the status quo.
Speaking of, do you have a piece that you can share with us today, Carl? Just off the top of the head?
I think expensive thoughts. If you want to talk to me, it's going to cost you. If you ain't talking about revolution, why you bother to call me on the phone? Business owner and a published author 2 times over. Who would have thought? Poetry saved my life, real talk. And reading decolonized my imagination. I started writing for free, dreaming that one day people would pay me for it. It's crazy what you could become when you let your mind go free. But really, I won't be happy until I can see my grandmother stress-free. Tell her you could come home now, kick your feet up, baby, we debt-free. I built a company and have to stand out in front of a building selling drugs. An entrepreneur free to do whatever I want. But for now, it's just a big dream, because I found myself still, stuck in the mud under so much pressure, living through this oppression, wishing I knew what it feels like to be free.
Woo! Let's get some snaps up in here. Thank you for that, Carl.
Yeah, for sure.
Future projects you working on? Anything we can expect to see you on next?
I'm doing these workshops so I can get into the schools.
Right.
Yeah, for sure, because that imagination, like, children are not, the assumption is made that people of color don't have the capability to be the innovators and the entrepreneurs who are the real change agents of society, who are making revolutions in technology and revolutions in business. So what's the sense in educating them to be that way, right? And so that's why I feel like it's left out of schools, it's left out of the curriculum, and I aim to provide what's missing. Yeah.
And we were talking off air about your shirt. This is your brand, Countercultural.
Right.
Are you working on something next with market merchandise?
Right, so a countercultural person is a person that goes against the grain, that goes against the norm. If the norm in a particular community is ignorance, is violence, is conformity, then I'm gonna go against that, but in a positive way, in a way that's inspiring. So in the same way that children went to go see the Black Panther movie and they saw themselves in a different light as being a hero, as being someone capable of strength, as being someone capable of accomplishment, that's my goal, that's my purpose, to be like the Black Panther, but in real life and in my home community of the Bronx.
Where can our viewers go to find out more about Carl with a K?
So I'm online, right? richradical.com and my Instagram, but really, I can't explain it to you in the abstract. You gotta show up to the workshops. Because you could read about a lion in a textbook, but you won't know what a lion is until you hear it roar.
That's facts.
Yeah.
So we're gonna plug in that workshop tonight, right now. Thank you, Carl, for joining us again. The Imagination Manifest Dreams Creative Writing Workshop is happening today, June 12th, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Bronx Art Space, located at 305 East 140th Street. For more information on Carl, you can visit his website at richradical.com and follow him on Instagram at K_with_AK. Stay tuned, more open after this.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund Reading.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Yeah, I get it.
Welcome back. The Morrisania Band Project is an R&B soul collective with a mission to add vibrancy to the South Bronx through music, community engagement, and social initiatives. As the weather starts getting warmer, they're returning to Bronx parks and bringing the funk to a neighborhood near you. Here to tell us more is Elisa Carmona. She's the founder of Morrisania Band Project. Elisa, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Sanji.
We're going to start off by talking about MVP. Tell me a little bit about the band.
Well, we were founded in the South Bronx, the Morrisania community, in 2016 through funding from Bronx Council on the Arts, Yankee Stadium, and space from Dream Yard Project. And here we are today.
What is some of the work that MVP has done? I know you've been raising awareness to certain issues in the past as well, and you're still doing that today.
Yes. We've held events for sickle cell disease. We've done that twice, in 2017 and again last year in 2018. We also came here and with Queens Sickle Cell Advocacy Network, and we spoke about our event in 2017. Last year, we held it in Unity Park. That's over in my neighborhood on Washington Avenue and East 168th Street. Queens Sickle Cell Advocacy Network came back out, and we raised awareness. And for the record, next week, June 19th, is World Sickle Cell Awareness Day.
So just in time.
Yes.
And you have some upcoming concerts going on. You're pretty busy these days. Tell me about those upcoming concerts you have.
Well, this Saturday we'll be outside the borough, but hello to Queens. We'll be at Queens Night Market. We're there from 8:30 till 11. And then we're headed back to the Bronx on the 20th, which is next Thursday. We will be at the Bronx Borough President's Caribbean Appreciation event, And we'll be there from 12 to 3. And then we're here at Lehman College on the 21st for Make Music Day.
And we spoke in the past about how Unity Park, it didn't used to be the way it was. So you kind of got together and worked with some members of council to bring it to where it is now.
Yes. Well, I'm from that community. My mother was raised there. And so I passed by Unity Park, the Reverend Lena Irons Unity Park, all my life pretty much. And in 2014, I was fortunate to work with a local nonprofit, Renaissance Youth Center, and I was starting out as a grant writer as well as returning to music. And so thanks to Renaissance Youth Center, they gave me an opportunity for both. I got my first sets of grants to host a community cleaning and concert, and we did that, I believe that was in 2014, and I'm sorry, 2015, and then we've been back and forth holding events there. Last year we did the Unity Park concert series that was co-sponsored by our council member Vanessa Gibson, Assemblyman Michael Blake, Gary Axelbank from
He's also from
here,
yep.
Yes. And we had a lot of fun. We did 5 events out there. The sickle cell event. We partnered with Save Our Streets Bronx to focus on community safety and gun violence. We held an open mic in the park, a battle of the bands. We did a lot, and so we hope to return. We will return this summer. Our first Unity Park event is July 13th. Afterwards, we will be spreading it out at other city parks. We'll be at Mullally Park in August, and back at Unity throughout the summer and fall.
Wow. And you also have a Natural Woman event coming up in August.
Yes.
We'll talk about that as well.
Okay. Natural Woman, I was funded by Bronx Council on the Arts, thanks to them, to tribute the iconic Aretha Franklin. And my vocals will be joined by members of Morrisania Band Project, and actually we'll be doing a preview show here at Lehman on the 21st. And our full concert debut, we'll hold another preview show in August at Mullally Park, and the full concert debut will be September 20th at Bronx Music Heritage Center.
Nice. And all these concerts are free, they're funded, so
yes, they are free.
The community can come on and join and just listen to the amazing music. I wish we had some vocals right now. I would have put you on the spot, but we ain't ready for that, right? You got to come through and see Elisa and Morrisania Band Project when they perform here locally. What do you want like attendees to get from the performances and from attending these events?
Empowerment. Here in the Bronx, we don't always get the best press outside of the Bronx. People think they know us. I'm from here. We have artists, we have entrepreneurs, we have writers, we have professionals, nurses, doctors. We also have singers and musicians. And so what I want to bring to people through music is empowerment, a feeling that you can, that music should take you back to where you were when you first heard it.
Right in our backyards. Is such an inspirational singer and performer with Morrisania Band Project, Elisa, and a good friend of mine now.
Thank you.
Because we've known each other for a little bit now. Yes. And I have to go see you live.
Please.
I definitely do.
Well, you're going to be here at Lehman on the 21st.
I must.
We are on from 3 to 4. Well, you got to come out for the whole event. There are a lot of performers. I think it's supposed to be 8 hours of music. We're on from 3 to 4, and I will be tributing Aretha Franklin as well as some other music.
Let's shout out your band members. You got a lot of people on the team, right?
We do. Well, we're a collective actually. So I have 2 drummers, Wasi and Michael. Michael will be here with me at Lehman as part of the Aretha tribute. I have my keyboard player, Melvin. He's also a background singer, and he'll be here at Lehman with me playing guitar. On keys for Lehman will be Kevin Bell. I have Gregory Daffin, he's on bass. And I have Richard Thompson, our other lead singer, Classic. He won't be here at Lehman on that day, but he will be with us throughout the month at other events.
How did you all band together for the collective?
Well, we find each other. We tend to, like, word of mouth, online, sometimes at concerts. People will approach. A lot of referrals through other musicians as well.
Where can the public go to find out more about MVP?
You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram especially, at Morrisania Band.
Thank you so much, Elisa,
Thank
for
you
coming
for
by.
having me.
Can't wait to hear those beautiful vocals and the beautiful music this summer.
Can't wait to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. You can catch Elisa in the Morrisania Band Project tomorrow, June 13th, from 1 to 2 p.m. at 2424 Boston Road, and during Caribbean Heritage Month on June 20th, 12 to 3 p.m. Then they make their way to Lehman College, located at 250 Bedford Park Boulevard on June 21st for Make Music Day. Be sure to attend. For more information on the Morrisania Band Project, you can visit them on social media at Morrisania Band. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you miss any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67, Verizon Fios 33, or watch anytime at bronxnet.org. That wraps it up for us here at the Set Up Open. I'm Sanji Lopez. Make sure to keep this channel wide open. Take care and God bless.
$150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.